everyone that has four walls.
Struggling to define that in some way.
Oh,
Okay, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. Just for the peeps out there, slightly different approach to introducing four walls, since we don't know what it is yet. Let's do a round robin. Each one of us has to say what we think four walls is about. Go,
Let's
Craig.
do it. What I think four walls is, it's an environment that allows people to talk freely about various subjects without fear of. No, it's not fear of judgment, because you should be judged. I think if you talk shit,
You need to be judged.
then you need to be judged on that. But if you talk sense, honestly and openly, then you shouldn't be judged. And that in itself is what four walls is.
So four walls is the freedom to say what you think, but also you need to bear in mind that if you say what you think and others disagree, they're going to tell you.
Yes, which is okay.
Which is okay. And you shouldn't get upset about that. And you actually should quite enjoy the experience and the interaction that follows.
It's real discussions.
Yes.
Yeah.
That fit for you, Sean?
What do you think?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I liken it to bringing back the bar debate. You know, you sit down in a pub and
that's a really good.
Specifically, guys like to get back, have some beer and argue about something that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. There's probably a right answer, but it's good to discuss these things. Football's a great example. You know, things like
It's
that.
not good to discuss football.
No,
it's not.
Football
It's
or
not.
politics.
It sucks.
We say that four walls, we can talk about anything.
Yes.
And that is true. And again, we'll come back to say
Let's
if anyone,
not
once
talk
we
about that.
once you go with these, if anyone has any suggestions or any points you'd like to cover, get in touch or even, come on and be involved in it. But football or politics are probably ones we'll have to leave.
Yeah, we're just
to
going
the
to
side.
ignore those.
Well, I think I'm quite keen on the idea, yes, that we shouldn't talk about the topic. But if there's a politician or a footballer, I think we're allowed
let's
to talk about
zero
this.
in on something.
that would be
really
great.
hammer in.
Yeah.
That'd be really good. If a person within that environment's on it, then we can talk about it.
Absolutely. But yeah, so it is. It's essentially bringing back the bar debate. You know, we used to get sit around a table, discuss various topics. Sometimes it could get quite heated, but everybody left happy.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter what we talked
That
about.
kind of
I had a
describes
really good friend. Oh, I still had a really good friend. I had one friend.
it. You argued with him.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting. He used to quite calmly take all of these bar debates. But I can remember on one occasion we were talking about something. I'm blowed if I can remember what it was in the pub. And he lost it. He completely lost it and became really quite violent. I think we're going to reach that moment where it flipped, he takes so on. But fortunately, we're on a Zoom call, so there's only you two that can get
They
violent.
can really flip.
That's fair.
The gun's been taken down from the wall, so that's a good start. We've only got a lightsaber.
Yeah, but I know we're not allowed to talk about politics, but you've seen the House of Commons or whatever when someone says something and they all just start banging on it.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the point in having boundaries if the very first thing we do is break?
That's just what it is. We're not talking about specific policies. We're just saying that whole nonsense is just absolutely nonsense.
That's it.
See, we're more civil than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So what we're talking about today in the bar?
I was going to get one of those perfect pints as well. No, that machine that.
Yeah.
So that'd have been ideal for this conversation.
Well, what we use a lot of, and everyone's working day and daily life, cliches.
Cliches.
Life in itself is a cliche, but that was quite profound. But cliches, because there's a couple of them. Once you start becoming aware of them, and I've written this down because if you start thinking about something, it happens more often. We've spoken about this before. Or if you buy a red car, then everyone has a red car. Then if you start thinking about cliches, I've noticed how common they are and how many people use them in a day. But then, I thought, right, I'm not going to use any cliches. Not going to use any cliches.
Oh, so you're actively fighting it?
Well, I did, but it was impossible. Then I spouted out a couple and thought, and it just sounded terrible because you're aware of it. It sounded just like waffle.
So Craig, surely something has to be common in order to be a cliche.
Well, this is it. Yeah.
Nobody ever says it. It's not a cliche.
So I think we'll probably begin by describing it, if you like. So to give you I've got an example of a cliche that.
Well, what is a cliche? Do you think?
Well,
describe a cliche.
I can give you an example of a cliche rather than describe what it is. So I think description, would be something that is super common but has gone past the point of being acceptable. To give you an idea, 60-year-old driving a Porsche.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. So you're talking. So are you talking
That's a
about
cliche.
Are you talking about the cliche, the crisis type thing? Is that what you mean by that?
Not at all. No, it's just it's something that one person did, and then someone else caught onto it and said, you know what, I'm going to do the same thing, and then everybody did it, and then now you've got this whole persona of if you're like an elderly guy driving a Porsche, that's become a cliche
You've
of
got a
trying to
cliche.
like midlife crisis type of thing. So people have kind of summed it up.
So according to the dictionary,
I think you've got a dictionary.
it's a phrase or opinion that is overused and betrays a lack of original thought.
Yes.
Right, so that's fine. So that's what a cliche is, right? So that's fine. But what I'm more interested in is where do they come from? Because it says it betrays original thought, right? So something's overused.
Someone has.
So how did this become overused? For example,
Okay.
There's plenty of ways to skin a cat.
Who skinned a cat first?
But when did that first become used? Why is it a thing? Why is that even a cliche? Because people say it. What does it mean? But if it says it's something that's overused, why was it ever used in the first place? Why would you skin a cat?
I've never skinned a cat.
That's going to have some sort of historical thing, isn't it? About
that's going to be massive.
Or in London or something like that.
My guess to that is probably it's a dinner thing back in the day.
It's cats.
I think they used to. Somebody used to.
Well, you can't really say as well who eats cats because then it might be offensive. You can't say that. People do eat. Certain people do eat cats, I believe, but
certain countries eat dogs.
Yeah, which is
all this kind of stuff. So not that we're against it, but yeah, that absolutely happened. But yeah, it'll give you another cliche. We're basically going to spout all the cliches we could think of in this episode, right?
So we should have the whole conversation as a cliche-driven conversation.
Oh,
yeah, it absolutely is.
So Craig has found out why we skin cats.
I don't know, he's got another thought here as well.
No, in the mid-1800s, skinning cats was a thing people did, apparently. So there are more than one way to skin a cat. So there are more than...
It's horrible.
Yeah, why did they do that, actually? Anyway, that's where it came from.
So more than one way to skin a cat.
So there are more than one way to skin. I don't know what. I'm not going to look into how many ways or what those ways are, but
well, it's some sort of weird competition.
Oh, was it? Yeah, I was
maybe.
trying to find facts and disappearing there, guys.
I just somewhat off script. If we had one, you talk about competition. It's Olympics in the summer. Do you know that poetry reading was in the first
seriously?
Yeah, in the first Olympics, they had poetry reading.
No.
Competitive poetry reading.
Well, I guess because it was Greek.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah.
All
back in the day.
Yeah, the whole mythology.
Do you think
imagine that a poem off?
Do you think the Olympics is a cliche?
No, I think it's. I don't think it's
the opening ceremony stuff and everything. All that.
I think it could have elements of cliches in it. But again, it's dependent on who's running, isn't it? It's it's one of those. It's a tricky one because they've got creative license for it every time.
Well, I believe the French are going to do some weird, extreme, huge boat procession down the Seine to open that. So that's not a cliche, but I think if it was in the States, we kind of know what it might be like.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Speaking of States, actually, here's a cliche because I was having a conversation with a friend last week, and it was great time when this episode appeared. He is going over to America to ride a motorbike across Route 66.
Cliche,
Route 66.
Yeah, cliche.
Yes.
Oh, I want to do it as well.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because the very next thing he said to me goes, I know it's tacky and I know it's a cliche, but I've always wanted to do it.
Well, it goes without saying. I think he's just trying to grab the bull by the horns.
I think. Why would you do that?
Sorry. Is he going alone?
I think he's going with two pals.
Yeah, because there's no I in team.
All right, let's do it again. Let's keep rolling, Craig. Go on. How many can you get?
Competitive clicheing.
I've covered 3 in that last 2 sentences.
Really good.
But are those cliches though? Are those statements cliches, or are they just really annoying?
At the end of the day, they're all cliches.
We could do this all day, couldn't we?
I can't apparently.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Oh, let's not.
Let's not. No,
Oh
let's
my God.
not.
So, what are cliches useful? Like, are they?
Oh, well, that's interesting. I wrote down when we were trying to work out what it was. I wrote down they become meaningless. Is that?
They're almost filler. They're almost filler statements, or the ones that get me are when they're used to sound to make something sound more important or more
Yeah.
intelligent. That
Yeah.
that one that I used there, there's no I in T. That's a throttleable one. That's a
I
almost
agree
a
with that.
punchable
That's-
line.
Well, without mentioning any names, I was involved in an MBA program last week, and some certain characters' names came up at a presentation, and they actually said there were two things they said: you
Oh,
need to be respected but not liked, cliche,
yeah,
and
Sure.
there's
Oh,
no
I
I in
hate that.
T, cliche.
I hate
And
those ones.
these were quite renowned people
Yeah.
that were, and you think, well, I just want to ask something as a follow up, but there you go.
The other one's thinking outside the box, isn't it?
Thinking outside
Yeah.
the box.
I
No,
tried,
yeah.
that's where it came from. Remember, I said
Yeah.
I heard myself saying it,
Yeah, you'd.
and I thought, no, I can't use that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how many cliches do people say in a day?
Well, that's
And then it becomes a little bit of an addiction.
I think after people hearing this episode, they're going to count it because they're going to
Then
be very aware of
that's
what
what I
they're
want
doing.
to happen. And
Yeah.
I wonder if you can
You should maybe offer a prize.
Yeah, I wonder if you can outlaw cliches by just telling everyone
that
how
would be
annoying they
beautiful.
are.
But what about cliches that simply you mentioned they're meaningless, but they don't make sense, or they're just factually incorrect?
Well, I'll give you one. It's my favorite factually incorrect cliche, and it's "have your cake and eat it."
Yeah,
that wasn't on my list.
Because people say it incorrectly, don't they?
It's incorrect. It's back to front. Of course, you have your cake and eat it.
What the hell? What are you going to do with a cake?
Yeah.
Can I have that slice of chocolate there,
So
please?
the correct
Just
phrase
look
is
at it.
"eat your cake and have it."
Have it.
Yeah.
Nobody says that right.
But then, if you flipped it, what does it mean? What's it supposed to mean?
Well, it's to mean that you get to keep the best bit, even though you give. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the thing. But we use them every day, don't we?
Yeah. What does it mean?
Here's another thing. So factually incorrect, but we all sort of, as English speakers, sort of get an idea of what they mean. One of them is read between the lines.
Yeah.
But if you were actually going to do that, that would be nonsense, wouldn't it?
Well, it would, because
Isn't that where the writing is between the lines?
Oh, well, the writing is.
And
see, now when you say it, it's actually really obvious. So we're thinking it. So actually, we're overthinking it because we're thinking there's nothing between the lines.
But
between the lines
has that
and
got
actually the writing.
I'm wondering if that's got something to do with the meaning of lines.
Well, I don't think it really matters. I think, like, if you're counting the writing as lines and you're reading between it, that's pointless. But if you're counting the lines as the space between the writings,
but I wonder whether it's a legal term or something like that, and that lines is a description of something, but you have to interpret it. You have to read between the lines.
Perhaps.
But that's me completely guessing.
Ah.
Just wonder if there's something more complicated to it. But I'm with you. I mean, you think, well,
yeah, cliches are. They're stupid, but I think there's a purpose for them.
Here's one I actually know the meaning of. It's Gone for Burton.
Oh, right, you told me about this.
I'll be honest, I've not heard this one.
Gone for Burton. People say, he's gone for Burton.
Nope.
Or it's gone for Burton. Well, that came from the First World War when the guys in the in the war in the tunnels and so on and so on. When one of their mates died or got killed or whatever it might be, they used to say, well, he's just gone down the pub for a Burton's. Burton Ales was the most popular beer in the country at the time, so he's just gone for Burton, kind of protecting themselves from the horrors of war, and it's become a phrase. So there you go. There's actually a book called "Gone for Burton."
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
I didn't know
there's
that
a cliche that's quite nice. That's
quite a nice one, as opposed to the skinny cat. And it's a dog eat dog world.
It is.
What does that mean?
But that kind of brings us on to a whole new thing, because you would be amazed at how many people, dog eat dog world, actually use the phrase doggy dog world.
Oh yeah, misused. There's misused cliche, misused
doggy.
Doggy dog
So
world.
I think I've got two straight off the bat on this one. There's another one. Doggy dog world instead of dog eat dog world. But they use it. I don't know what they're trying to mean.
I don't know what a doggy dog is. Is that like a catty cat?
So even worse than cliches or phrases are misused cliches or phrases.
Well, actually, I've got three. So there's that one. There is a bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
It's commonly referred to as a bowl in a china shop.
Which actually makes more sense than a bull.
But not in the meaning. Because if
Yeah.
they're meaning it to be sort of clumsy and aggressive or whatever,
It's not going to be a bowl.
no, it's not going to be a
Because there are
bowl.
lots of bowls in China.
I would argue that would be boring.
Should be with the majority of the
I thought you said a bowl in a China shop. You said bowl.
A bowl.
That's
A bowl could be almost as bad as a bowl. That would be in between bowl and bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, so there was that one. And the third one, it's not really a cliche as such, but you hear people say it a lot, is a scapegoat. But people say an e-scapegoat, like a scapegoat.
Oh,
escape,
there's
like
some really
escaping,
good ones
go
here.
escaping.
The
Yeah.
doggy dog world was
Yeah.
there. To be Pacific, that one really, that
Gets
one's
to
really
me.
common. It's
Gets to me.
specific, but that's just got to be like an intelligent.
Espresso
Be
gets to me
specific.
as well.
The word specific.
Yeah.
Don't make me an scapegoat.
An scapegoat. So I read a tweet once actually, and it said, drugs is a temporary escape goat.
Drugs is an escape. Even the whole makeup of that sentence
It's
is
mental,
grammatically
isn't it?
dreadful.
To me, drugs is a temporary escape goat. Now, if he'd removed the word goat, it would have made sense.
Yeah, but
But why did he add goat?
But I'll tell you why. Because so it was the bloggers making a point, but thought that they'll be smart and use a cliche to make the point.
That's true.
Which wasn't actually a cliche.
It was
They take a
nonsense.
part of a cliche.
Oh, well, hang on, that's an
With
interesting
the
point. So do you think people use cliches to replace intelligent understanding of
Yes, 100%.
sounds like it's a good
That's my
debate.
point about, and they do it incorrectly. Like the amount of people I can name for. In fact, I'm going to catch out a couple of people. This is a real on tenterhooks.
It's not tender.
It's
is it?
tenterhooks,
Tenter.
right? I feel like I'm on tenterhooks. I'm
Right, okay. So I'm
not
not going to.
people that say that incorrectly. I said they're on tenterhooks.
What is it? It's on
Tenterhooks
Now,
what tenterhook?
instead of on
can you
tender.
explain what tenter
Oh,
is?
right, on tender hooks. What's the
Yeah.
correct one? On tender.
Tenter.
Yeah, with the
What's
T.
tenter?
Tenterhooks.
Well, that's the thing. No, I don't think anyone really
I
knows
don't
anymore.
like but I just knew that was the correct.
But if you think about it, on tender hooks,
Yeah, it makes
would
more
make
sense. Here's one that
What's a
I
tenter?
I don't know. I don't think anyone knows, Andrew.
here's one that I would say, and this is one they wouldn't say boo to a ghost.
It's a goose.
Yeah, it's a goose.
Yeah, I know that.
Oh, did you see this one? I
That
said
one makes more
ghost. I
sense.
got pulled up about
Yeah.
it and said it's boo to a goose. I'm like, that's
Yeah,
stupid.
because what does a ghost say?
Why would you say boo to a goose?
A ghost says boo.
Exactly.
A goose says something mental. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Right, here you go. It's learning.
Yeah.
A tenter is a frame used for drying and stretching cloth. So it's got hooks on it to stretch the cloth across
Ah.
to dry it. So you're right, it's on tenter
Could you
hooks.
say that when you're waiting patiently for something to come through?
Yeah,
So it's reflecting the kind of tenseness of the
Tenseness of the
fabric that you
cloth.
stretch.
Okay.
I would argue that neither
That's
of
a
those make
good one.
sense for the meaning.
But
I
boo
think we
to
should have a
ghost.
challenge to make sure we use that sometime this afternoon. And then
Yeah.
Give us a couple of more there, Craig.
Right. Let me see. So we've
can
got.
I give you another hated
Yes.
one from me?
Please.
Oh, please, the hated ones are good.
Yeah, hated one. Planning for the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Explain that.
I'm not aware of any other planning. I've never planned for the
Oh,
past.
You know what? I've never thought of that.
Planning for the future. That's the overuse of words to make you sound important. But it's just
You're just
That's
planning.
another one of those business ones, isn't it?
Yeah,
it
It's
is,
it's
yeah.
the business ones that I hate.
Yeah.
The business ones that I hate.
Planning for the future is interesting.
We need to like have some blue sky thinking on this subject. Like piss off.
Yeah. First things first. That's another one.
well,
Yeah,
yes.
because what else are you going to do first? Here's one that you like.
stuff now.
Here's one that you like. Curled up in the feeble position instead.
Feeble.
Listen, these are commonly misused
Yeah.
cliches.
Curled up in the what?
Feeble position
Okay.
instead of fetal.
Oh my god.
What is the feeble position?
Oh, I really hope people are watching this rather than just listening because that was epic.
That's a good feeble position.
Oh,
Oh,
oh my goodness. Amazing.
great.
Okay, yeah, so we've established that people use cliches daily.
Yeah.
I think almost unavoidably. They don't even know
See,
they're
that's my
doing it.
point. They are unavoidable. I
But
think
also-
they're unavoidable.
Yeah, I would
it's
agree.
unavoidable. I think it's now unavoidable and daily, and during the course of a day to use a cliche.
But
at some
what
point.
What about, well, they will also establish that people actually use a lot of these wrong as well,
Yeah.
but somehow have made sense of them. Or at least some of them.
But because some of them do make more sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't it?
That's
Yeah.
true. But what about if someone does something as a cliche rather than just saying it?
I would
So-
kind of back to your Porsche driving 60-year-old man.
I think about a more universal one, right? Now, one of the biggest landmarks in the world is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. You go there and you will see everybody doing the exact same pose.
Mhm.
This. They're leaning,
Yeah.
they're holding it up.
Or
Right.
the Eiffel Tower one where they go like that and they try and
The Louvre's another one, you do the point.
Yeah.
All of these nonsense, right?
cliched actions.
Someone came up with that a long time ago, all on their own. Someone created that. So there was in
And
the
I
field
think
there was a guy just
And they
doing
got
this.
nothing for it.
Oh, nothing for it,
I
but
don't know
literally
who made these.
everybody
yeah.
does it, right?
So someone must have made these cliches.
Well, that's an interesting. Well, here's what's just come into my head. Did you ever used to play Kirby?
Yeah, but no one's ever taught me the rules.
Yeah.
I have no idea how I
Everyone knows how. I wonder if kids
So
know
who
how to
invented
do
that, or was that one of those things that just happened? And is the Leaning Tower of Pisa thing like that? That it's the auto thing?
I get what you mean. Same as Wally, with the ball.
Yeah, yeah,
Brody, like when you say, but they called it something else.
yeah. But it's one of these universal things that somehow
know how to
everybody
play.
knows, but no one's ever taught.
Yeah, it's.
I really hope
It's
it's not
energy.
not just a UK thing because we'd need to explain what Kirby is.
Kirby, that's great. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's fair comment. Well,
Oh, yeah.
using cliches that actually in parts of the world are really meaningless. Because
Because Kirby's that thing you put in your hair.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Whereas the
But
Kirby
not
we're
to-
talking about is a game between two children or grown-ups where they will stand on a pavement,
each side of the
each
road.
side of the road. They will take
or
a
a
ball
sidewalk.
or a sidewalk on a sidewalk, and they will throw it, said ball, with the aim of hitting the curb and catching it.
Yes.
It
That's
would bounce
Kirby.
back to them and catch, and you get
And then
points.
catch it.
Yeah.
That
But
is-
then, yeah, who taught you how to play that?
I know.
Because I don't know. I have no idea.
We're talking about business ones.
Yeah.
Here's see, this is the great thing about doing these live when you're just actually finding.
Well, it's
it.
completely unscripted. Huh?
Look at this. Ones to avoid in business that are overused, and I hope that people
beautiful.
are listening to this that use them. It's a win-win situation. If you say this, you're stupid because it means that no one's actually won anything, because it can't be a win-win situation. Think outside the box. This uncreative saying means you're already stuck inside the box. Grab the low-hanging fruit doesn't really say anything about that.
But you can understand that
In
one.
today's world, well, that just generally means now. So it's just a pointless phrase.
Mhm.
God, I need to look at more of these.
What about
business
run out a flagpole and see how it flies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. What does that mean?
What does that even? Stupid.
Run it up the flagpole. Yeah. Yeah. So essentially, cliches are nonsense phrases for, like you had mentioned in the description, the unoriginal.
But are there good cliches though? Right.
Yes.
So we mentioned like it's a
Well,
midlife crisis.
I think there's cliches that people enjoy. You were talking earlier about Sean at what gets played at a wedding. So
Yeah.
there may well be certain songs and certain dances, for instance, people do at a wedding, like and eat some real at the end, or do the hokey cokey, or wherever it might be.
Conga.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Which are absolute cliches, but everyone really enjoys them at that
They'll
Oh,
point.
join in, won't they?
Yeah.
I think so. I think like it's, but then you're talking about things like curb mentality, because you wouldn't want to be the only one not doing it based on principle.
Yeah.
You would just join in because it's everybody else is doing it.
So somebody
It's
at a wedding
Christmas
goes,
dinner,
"I'm not
cliche.
doing that dance." It's such a cliche.
Yes.
Well, you're now a really annoying person.
Oh yeah, massively.
So is Christmas dinner a cliche, or is that
No,
tradition?
no, that's tradition.
That's tradition. So
I
then
think-
cut
Well,
right.
that's
Okay.
okay. Traditions and cliches. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's a very close line between the two of them, because cliches have obviously been around for a long time. Everybody uses them, or most people use them, but traditions are, you can set your own.
Well, there's something on Jeremy Vine on Radio 2, where they were talking about hen and stag parties, and there was a big debate about them being sort of what it was. A footballer had kicked he'd kicked a cat. He kicked a
Alright.
cat. Yeah, he kicked a cat and got done for it. West Ham player, it was.
Oh yes.
So stag party went out, and one of them was dressed as a footballer, the other one was dressed as a cat, and he pretended to kick it outside RSPCA place or something. There was a big uproar. So, but there was this uproar, and this guy came on, and he's on quite a lot. He just rants about everything.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, stag parties, they're such a cliche, and it's just idiots, blah, blah, all the rest of it. There was a lady came on and actually said, well, one, I've got a cat. I actually found it quite funny because it wasn't about, they weren't saying it's okay to kick cats. They were actually taking the piss out of the footballer. You know, he was the one that looked an idiot, not the cat. The cat doesn't know. Cats aren't offended by it. It's people that are offended by it. And actually, stag do's are a tradition, not a cliche. So there is there's a bit of a
there's a crossover on that, actually, because I would argue that stag do's, yes, they're a tradition. They're part of the engagement / wedding, festivities, if you like. But I think there are cliche things you can do.
Oh, 100%.
Like, you know, tying somebody to a lamppost.
That, because that hardly happens anymore.
No, that seems more old school.
Tying somebody to a lamppost, again, that's a tradition, isn't it? You know?
Well, I think so, but I think it could also be considered as a cliche.
I think, it's that line, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I think it's quite an interesting one, really. So you've got
I know when my son and daughter-in-law got married, Ben and Lindsay, they did that, but they actually were given PPE.
That's brilliant.
Way to shake up the cliche right now.
We don't want to avoid it and not do it, but we're going to do it safely and not actually get too dirty. Beautiful. I like that. That
is beautiful. But yeah, I think there is definitely a line between tradition and cliche.
It's what is that line?
I think it's what you make it, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's got to be useful cliches, right? There's got to be cliches that are useful.
Okay, well, that was a challenge, and we didn't do a very good job of coming up.
Did we?
Oh, we kind of liked the idea. Well, I said we liked the idea of certain dances at weddings and things like that, which were traditions and/or cliches.
What even phrases? What the calm before the storm? I find that one okay. You know, that doesn't seem to be more as annoying. Because that's interesting. Look, we know that there's something coming.
Sure.
That's going to be pretty crap. Well, yeah.
Are you just
appreciate the calm before? Or this is the calm. Trying to predict it. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, also, I don't know whether that's real either. Is there calm before a storm? I suppose
generally, yeah.
You know, it's calmer before a storm, but that's just the nature of the situation, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's not a storm always.
Yes, exactly.
How difficult would it be to make up a cliche? Because
I don't think it would be hard.
Well, but I mean, you look at some of these, and how did they become a cliche? Because the definition was a term that's overused and then used unnecessarily.
Well, I think you'd look at different aspects. For example, doing a Mexican wave at a football game.
Yeah.
There was this experiment done. It only took 7 people to get it started.
Is that right?
And it went right around the stadium. 7 people in a row. That's all it took. But then if you look at cliches being created, that's the other word for that nowadays would be trending.
Why is it a Mexican wave? Was
I
it
don't know.
created in Mexico? Was it the Mexico World Cup? Was it?
I don't know.
When it started, was it?
It may well have been.
Sorry, Sean, how do you know it was only 7 people? Have they got some sort of plaque or something?
No, I watched a documentary about it. Basically, they were doing it was kind of like MythBusters. If you it was similar to that idea where they did this, and they said, let's try it with one person, see if we can get it done. And all that happened was this guy stood up and he sat back down.
Okay, I understand. So you need at least 7 people to start a Mexican wave. There wasn't kind of 7 Mexicans that started this.
No, that would be weird.
Yeah, that would be weird. That's why I reacted that way. That sounds like a documentary maker who's struggling for a topic.
Yeah, that is true. But I've no idea why it's called that. But then you've got like I said, you've got other things that are trending, if you like, that happen almost every day.
So we're leaking back to our bandwagons.
We are then, which was episode 1.
It was episode 1. But essentially, we're jumping on a bandwagon, but essentially that bandwagon is going to last forever. Because everybody's going to jump on it at one point or another.
So, okay, what's going on at the moment that could become a cliche?
Well, I think anything really, because there's a bunch of videos online. For example, I'll tell you one that my wife showed me yesterday, and she made me try it with her, was anyone that's got a dog could try this, and I don't want to highlight this and make people do it. But essentially, what you do is you sit in front of the dog, like side by side, and the dog's kind of in front of you, and you put your hand in, and then the wife does it, and then you got to wait and see if the dog puts their paw in as well. Weirdly enough, it does work. But that seems to be trending at the minute. Now, whether that's becomes a cliche, I think depends on how many people do it or start to dislike it. I think for a cliche, I think there has to be a sense
quite
of
a neat
dislike.
metaphor for how cliches start, isn't it? That idea that, well, it's back to your 7 Mexicans. You need.
I don't think they were Mexicans.
Well, Hispanic at all?
No, well, it was. I looked it up there real quick, and it was created in Washington State. So I'm going to assume they were Americans. I don't know.
It was created in Washington State, and we called it a Mexican way.
Whether they were, whether there was a team playing Mexico, I have no idea. No, it was actually an NFL game. There you go.
Okay.
Seattle Seahawks.
Why Mexican then?
A lot of commentators call it the
What's that,
Mexican way
Don't worry
because
about
they
it.
saw it for the first time by the Soccer World Cup in Mexico in 1986.
So it was okay. So
it might have been Mexicans.
So it was the '86 World Cup. I thought it must prefer.
I don't know.
To back then.
But yeah, going back to, I think for it to be a cliche, I think at least a large amount of the population has to somewhat dislike it.
Yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Because otherwise, it's just something.
Well, it's not because we don't like to feel
go with the crowd.
Part of the crowd, or
okay. So you get like you get cliches that are only prevalent in certain areas. For example, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or who you call it, peanut butter and jam sandwich.
Yeah.
Now, as it happens, I had one many years later after thinking it sounded gross. It was really good. It was actually really good. Because essentially it's peanut butter and strawberry, right? Which they go together.
Sure.
Now, that's a proper American cliche. Sure. Whereas would haggis, neeps, and tatties be a Scottish
Well, I think
cliche?
haggis is a stereotype.
So that's a stereotype. So there's a difference between a stereotype and a cliche.
Now, you guys are both Scottish. Are you saying that haggis, neeps, and tatties is a cliche or a stereotype? That's
and the tradition. I think it's all three.
So it's all three?
I think so.
Is where I'm. So you can't see. I think so as well.
See, I used to work with an English company.
I think it's all three.
So that's quite interesting. So from a marketing trending perspective, there's a danger here. If something becomes too popular, you either only ever do it once a year.
When else do you see that in
avoid it?
Yeah, you can see a stand coming up to Burns Day. I mean, look, it's not something I would eat on a general basis. I know a lot of people really like it, whether you're Scottish or not. It's not overly for me, but you only really see in aisles coming up to Burns Day.
You're sort of right on that aspect.
So
I think we've got a bit of a triangle here. It's a tradition. It is a cliche, of course it is, because everybody does it, or at least the people who enjoy it do. And then you've got the stereotype, because I work for an American company right now, and I used to work for an English company, and they all just assumed that I loved haggis because I was Scottish, despite the fact that I do, but they didn't ask. They just went, you must like haggis.
That is a cliche in its own right. People,
of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah, you're
but then,
right.
What about these other ones? Wimbledon. What's the food of choice at Wimbledon? Anyone know?
Strawberries and cream and Pims.
Exactly.
That's got to be a cliche.
Of course,
that has to be.
If you're not even there.
You're wearing white and eat strawberries and cream, drink Pims. That's a cliche. You're a walking cliche if you do. That's not a stereotype, surely. But
then what happens? So you get 2 weeks of Wimbledon, which must be around about now, I guess.
It's shortly because the French Open. It's just now.
So you have 2 weeks of Wimbledon, and then what happens? We see all this cliche, and then for a period afterwards, sales of Pims and strawberries peaks because everyone does it in their back garden.
Totally. I think it's only a cliche if you do it when you're not at Wimbledon. I think at Wimbledon, it is a cliche, but it might all be all the same.
So you're saying if you do it at Wimbledon, it's a cliche, but if you do it off your own
it's an
back,
extra level.
Off your own back,
it's a weird extra level.
So if you did it in November,
no. If you do it around the time of Wimbledon, if you do it around the time of Wimbledon, fair enough. But I think there's an extra level of cliche involved in it if you're not at Wimbledon. If you're not actually going to watch it, if you're just going to watch it at home and get your strawberries and cream and Pims on the sofa, it doesn't quite give off the same vibe, does it?
Yeah,
cheaper. It would be cheaper.
Much cheaper.
Yeah,
but I just don't. I think there's a different atmosphere.
But you can combine. I think what you're showing is you can actually combine. Where three, you can combine a cliche, a stereotype, and a tradition All
yeah,
one.
yeah. There you go. There's one.
And doing that would be jumping on the bandwagon. So, guys, okay,
Wow. Wow.
I think
Beautiful.
we've
I like
done cliches to death.
Oh, definitely.
How about we
That's
finish?
huge.
How about we
I think we'll
finish?
have to for sanity.
Yeah, one each. Our most hated cliche,
Okay. Ooh.
and you can
All
repeat
right.
it. You said it already. You can repeat it. But
Yeah.
what would you say? Avoid this at all costs.
I
What
would
you
avoid
say?
this at all costs. Yeah, every cloud has a silver lining. That's my most hated one.
Is it?
It
Most
doesn't make any
hated?
sense
Oh,
to me.
interesting.
I don't understand it. Does a cloud have a silver lining? I've never seen it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay,
Oh, sorry. Do you know what? I had another one. Plenty more fish in the sea was my second one.
you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, I know. Plenty more fish in the sea.
Well, it depends what sea you're talking
Well,
about.
exactly.
Off the coast of Norway and Scotland, there's not
Yeah.
many fish in the sea. They
But
probably
it's
They're overfished.
It's you to describe relationships, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, when you break up and all that, and yeah, we've got plenty more fish in the sea.
Yeah.
As if to say that there weren't other females in the world.
There's one I used today, just when we started, right?
Pretty much what it was saying.
That I use light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yes, you did say
Now,
that.
it's okay. See, when someone says it, right, that's fine. But see, if, for instance, here's where it becomes annoying. I think I'm taking a long answer. But if you're involved in something, it's don't worry, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's a fucking, you don't know how long the tunnel is.
Doesn't help, does it?
No, it doesn't help. The tunnel's 20 miles long, and I'm like walking it, and I'm at mile 1. Then I'm not going to see light for another 19 miles.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
not a good thing.
So there's a link that you guys got a theme going there. You don't like cliches that are trying to be helpful and positive.
Yes, there you go.
I don't.
No,
because it's
I
not
agree with
helpful
that.
and positive.
Yeah,
You know?
that's
Light
what,
at the end of the tunnel, plenty more fish in the sea, and
I agree with
every
that.
cloud has a
Cliches
silver
not
lining.
helpful. Yes,
If it's
you've hit the nail. They're the ones I find annoying. So cliches.
patronizing.
Yeah.
Well, they
There you
are.
go. I think you've nailed it,
because
Andrew.
instead of actually providing advice to someone, they've said this instead,
Throwing a cliche
which
at
is
it.
an absolute
Okay.
platitude.
You haven't said, yeah, do you know what it is? So you aren't actually saying something meaningful. You're throwing some bullshit term
There's no real
that is
empathy.
overused, has no real empathy to make me feel better. And it's actually just pissing me off.
the other
I think
one-
you've just nailed
Okay.
Well, yeah, do you know what?
a cliche.
I was going to
Well
say something
done.
else, but I think we could end it there.
Yeah, I think you've nailed it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Touche.
mine was just planning for the future. That was it. So
Beautiful.
if anyone would like to join us in a future event, which we are planning, just get in touch. But good chatting to you today, guys. I'm trying to think of a really clever cliche, but I can't.
So sad. Please roll out.
You know, you could say
Let's
something.
put a pin in it.
In fairness, you
Cliche
pushed
there.
them all up pretty early doors in this episode.
I know.
You went through
Cliche
like a whole 5 minutes of just cliches, and they all made sense one after another.
That's it.
Anyway, yeah,
Very
that
good.
was I enjoyed that. That was fun.
That was good. That was good.
All right, thanks, guys.
Wow.